Hello, good evening, and welcome to Upfront. Today, the President of the Republic of Ghana opened the doors for 100,000 Ghanaian youth to get jobs. These were gentlemen and ladies who had university education or tertiary education of one form or the other. It brought back memories to Memi about what happened in 2005 when the National Security had presented a report to the then John Kufuor government about the threat being the biggest threat to the nation, that is unemployment among the youth. We're asking today, and we know the fate of the NYEP, which became JIDA and later YEA today. We're asking, will the Nabco be the same as the NYEP? Would it be JIDA? Would it be YEA? How would it be different from LESDEP, YESDEC, and all of the other attempts in times past to fix, at least in the interim, or find a stopgap measure to deal with youth unemployment in the country, which many agree failed woefully? What is in the design of this particular project that makes it different, unique, and perhaps sustainable? That is the crux of our conversation here on Upfront today. My guest is a huge man when it comes to youth development in this country. I'll let you know when we come back from this break. You're welcome back. My name is Raymond Alqua. This is Upfront. Today, the president did a very wonderful event. Of course, he added biblical verses to say that today is the day that the Lord has made, because 100,000 Ghanaian youth were given jobs. They were going to work in different sectors of the economy under the government's main flagship job employment program, which is called the National Builders Corps. This corps makes it possible for 7 different modules to be run by the government, which is basically giving people who would have been in homes, been unemployed, been miserable, and in deplorable states, having to go up in the morning to a very wonderful place to work, be it at the JRA, the Lands Commission, or whichever place is wonderful to be worked at in this country. It starts good, but how is it going to end? That's what we're asking today with the people that matter in youth development in this country. My guest is Emmanuel Asigiri. He's a former DC. I'm sure many of you might have known him from that time, but now he's also the NYA, National Youth Authority's CEO. Mr. Asigiri, welcome.
Thank you very much, Raymond.
I hope you are doing well today.
Well, very excited.
I mean, oh, you're still excited?
Yeah.
I mean, to many people, it was also exciting how the president sought to use biblical verses to say that this is the day the Lord has made. But the question has been asked, what is the big deal?
Raymond, the big deal with regards to what happened today. Let me say good evening to your viewers. The big deal with regards to what happened today is the fact that we have a huge number of young people who hitherto would have been, loitering about, spending man hours doing nothing productive for themselves, having to be given this opportunity to add to nation building. And I think that this laudable initiative, which is putting this huge number, 100,000 young people, into the job market, is a big deal.
And this is basically because we are reducing the unemployment rate in the country.
Sure.
But is this not a drop in the ocean when it comes to unemployment in the country?
That is something you could look at it in that sense. But taking into consideration where we are coming from as a nation, and with regards to this particular policy, I think that we as a tradition, and that is the Dankwat Buzia Dombo tradition, having been part of the political discourse in the Fourth Republican era, we have exhibited that when we come out with some of these interventions, we mean well for the development of this country. So if you look at it in that sense, it is because the numbers are huge. And I think that over the years, some of the interventions that we introduced, if it were built on positively, we would have been able to deal with the numbers and brought it to a bare, minimum. If you take into consideration where we have a situation where in this country today, young people who go through certain specific areas of training, growing up being a young person, getting into proper adulthood, you know, being a part of the political discourse for so many years now, having observed that governments come in and go, and interventions were always put in place to even look at curtailing. We losing these professionals from some specific areas to some other nations, and interventions put in place to deal with such situations. And all of a sudden we had a change in direction where these young people from such professional backgrounds had to go through a process which even did not, you know, serve any good to them, to getting themselves onto the mainstream employment bracket. I think that when you take what it is that we have introduced with regards to this particular program, we wouldn't say we are patting ourselves on the back, but we think that barely 2 years in government to have ruled this out, I foresee us doing a lot for the young people of this country, especially when it comes to the areas of employment.
So to the person who still has no proper understanding of what this Nabco is about, just break it down for us. What's Nabco? Who are the 100,000 that was paraded today they are going to give jobs to? What are they going to do?
Well, to start with, Nabco, as the name, you know, stands for, is Nation Builders Corps. And this is a program that has been put in place to target young graduates. And it is for us to put these young graduates in certain areas where the system needs their expertise. So we all put that together to get in Ghana moving forward. If you take what we put in place, you have the various models, and we have about 6 models that have been put in place. The Digitizing Ghana, the Educate Ghana, right?
Yeah.
The Civic Ghana, and all the other ones that comes with it. It is an indication that we are looking at targeting specific areas where these young people who would have gone through some level of training for some period would get in and then put in their expertise, so we all see how we can get that to moving nation development forward.
Okay, now to the people who do not understand why we have to do this, who do not believe that this system is supposed to work out some magic, is this a stopgap measure?
For me, I sit here speaking to this issue as a youth development person, and then also as a looking at my agency being a beneficiary in the agency from this program.
Yeah.
And I would not want to wholly think that this is a stopgap measure. And if I take it beyond what comes directly under me, and then even related to other agencies that are benefiting from this, I see it as a way of reaching out to taking care of what we have not been able to deal with. And you have the argument where people will say, if you have that kind of a situation, why don't you just give the young people the opportunity to be employed? I think that we must start from somewhere. And the policy is that these young people will go through this program for the next 3 years. I am very optimistic of the fact that most of these young people will get onto mainstream, you know, employment areas.
Within the public sector?
Yeah, absolutely.
Within the public sector?
Absolutely.
So there's that much space within the public sector?
Well, of course. I mean, like I've indicated, Raymond, if you take my agency, which is the National Youth Authority, and having taken over the reins of the National Youth Authority, I felt so bad that as a country where, if you look at the demographics in terms of our population, Ghana's population now is seen as a youthful population because about 2/3 of the population, you know, fall within the youth bracket.
And by youth bracket, which age group do you mean?
We're talking of between 15 to 35.
35?
Yes. And
not the UN 1525?
No, the UN too goes with the 35.
15, that's 1525.
Sorry, this is the
yes.
AU. Yeah.
The
AU is a 15 to 35.
Yes.
Where you have this situation we are confronted with as an agency, you know, where 60% of our population falls within this bracket that, you know, we at the NYA
60%?
Yes. from the last information that the Statistical Service have provided.
Which report is this one specifically?
From the, I think it's coming from the 2010 population census.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and there have been some revisions on that.
Are they the projections? Because I've not seen the 60% anywhere.
Well, it is all seen as projections, but
okay.
whatever the case is, it is stated clearly that Ghana's population now is made up.
Between.
I mean, it's made up of a youthful population being the majority when it comes to the constitution of the population, constituting the population of Ghana, and then beyond even just Ghana's case. It has also been established that within the developing countries, the population demographics, you have young people making the majority. And these developing countries are found mainly in Africa and Asia. So these ones are also documented. So if you take an agency like the National Youth Authority, where I'm leading, I mean, happen to be the agency that should be leading youth development, not spread across the country, then that is a big problem. So if you're talking about the space, we at National Youth Authority, we are operating in less than 60 districts out of the 254 districts as we speak. Currently, our offices are in 54 districts. And even with these 54 districts, we're talking of offices where sometimes you go in and you just have a secretary sitting there. No district director, no supporting staff, no nothing. And, you know, that is the kind of situation we find ourselves.
And you are convinced that in 3 years you can train people to be district directors of the NYA?
Well, as I speak, I did indicate that beyond just speaking as a youth development person, my agency is a beneficiary agency of this program. We are getting over 2,100 people to be put, who are coming on board what we have requested for, to be put into these district offices so we can get ourselves operational in all the 254 districts of the country. So
because of the Nabco, we are going to get all 254 offices functional?
Absolutely. And
do you have infrastructure in these offices?
I'll get into that. I just had a board meeting with my board last week, and then I put this before them. My team, we put a team together, and then they've gone around the country, and we've come to a situation where we have identified places where we have infrastructure gaps, and the approach is that assemblies have been tasked to make available some space for us to be able to set up these offices in districts that we are not operational. And in some assemblies where it is not possible for us to get space from the district assemblies because of their own challenges with regards to infrastructure availability, we have moved to looking at renting office space for our staff. And in the long term, medium to long term, we are also looking at building our own offices across, the areas where we don't have offices. So we have these numbers coming on board, and immediately after we left the Independence Square, we've already gone into meetings, and the deployment will be done. We will be giving them some orientation, and then we'll get them go into the various offices. As I speak, the team we put in place to go around the country and then solicit for assemblies to get us offices. We've had responses coming from these various assemblies. Even some of the assemblies when my team visited, right there and then they just made, the space available. Most of them we would need to move in and then put them to shape, like putting furniture and all the needed materials that will get the offices running in place, like computers, photocopiers, and all that. So we, as an agency, like I have indicated, we're taking over 2,000 people to come and then get our presence felt across the country, because we have programs that we don't want to do and it will look like it is skewed to just the areas where we are operating. If you take my region where I come from, the Upper East region, we operate in just only 3 districts, when we have about 16 districts or so in that region. And so, it tells you clearly that, we need to establish our presence in all these districts, because youth development challenges are beyond employment. We have so many issues that are confronting us when it comes to youth development. So looking at what it is that is in place, that gives me the feeling and the impetus to say that we would be able to get these people, fill these spaces that are in place where it comes to the public sector, beyond National Youth Authority. If you take the revenue
I'll come to that. There's a general question that many people have asked. How different is this from the National Youth Employment Program, which was started in 2005?
Well, I thought you were even going to say how different is this from national service, because we've heard our critics say that this is just an extension of national service, and it's always been seen when you have, you know, and I'm not saying your question to me is it's criticism, and even if it is, we take it in good faith. I mean, but these issues that keep coming up with these comparisons, if you take the National Youth Employment Program, we set it up and we're supposed to have put young people in there to go for a 2-year model. A 2-year program for each model. And so it is totally different when it comes to this one.
The number of years involved?
Yes, the number of years involved and then the targeted areas. With regards to youth employment, you weren't to come in and then they pick you because of your background and then said, okay, we are making you go into the area for, let's say, Civic Ghana, Digitized Ghana, the revenue
You're
area.
saying that the modules are different?
Absolutely.
I see.
And then not different and then also targeted.
Okay.
Now, so that you are taking, you are taking people.
Conceptually, how is this different? Is it because this is more targeted at graduates?
Yes, I would say so. Because if you take the National Youth Employment Program too, it was also done and the informal sector was roped in. So with this one, we are looking at graduates, and when we say graduate, we're not just saying university graduates. Graduates from their various fields of, you know, training. You have certificate nurses, people who have gone in to do laboratory technician courses and all that. These are people who, beyond what they have acquired, they get certification from the bodies that they are supposed to be working under. Like the nurses situation, they have PIN numbers that is an indication that it is serving of a license of a sort. Okay. And that would give clearance for anybody who has that to be able to get onto the health sector to practice. So if you take these ones, we have thought through it and then we have gathered, we have put these young people together to be able to get them fit into areas where what it is they have acquired in terms of their training would be brought to bear.
Is this a social intervention program?
Certainly.
It is?
Certainly.
Targeting poor, vulnerable?
Would you want to just say targeting poor, vulnerable, and that would be the case? These are young people.
In this case.
It's a rhetorical question I'm also putting out there.
No, but is that what the target is?
You see, I wouldn't want to describe these young people who, for some years, have finished their various programs at their various training centers and haven't had anything to do, call them poor people. Okay. But these are people who, within the society mix, have been under some challenge. So it's certainly a social intervention.
Is this program. A safety net program?
Certainly so. Because like I have
indicated. But safety nets are for the poor and vulnerable.
Well, that was why when you put the first question, I was very careful as to how I wanted to answer it.
Yes, but you said that these people are not within that category. Well, and yet we are giving them a safety net.
You see, like I have indicated, you have a young fellow who has gone through the university, or the polytechnic, or the nursing training institute, or any professional training institute. Finished school, expected to have found an opportunity to exhibit what he or she would have gone in there to acquire, in terms of a skill. And the person has been home for the last 5, 3, 4, 2 years and have had no opportunity to be able to exhibit what he or she has been able to acquire. If you take our setting in terms of our traditional household, such a person becomes a burden irrespective of how wealthy the family he or she will be coming from. So if you take these definitions you are giving out, it wouldn't go into answer the clear-cut definition or the clear-cut situation. But I believe that you and I know that these young people have been faced with a challenge for a long period of time. And to get themselves even developing their lives have been, a very difficult one. So I wouldn't want to say that the technical definitions that you're looking for, is what it is that we're looking at in terms of defining who these young people are. But these are young people who have been faced with a challenge, and this intervention certainly is going to address that kind of a challenge.
The specific areas that you chose, was it based on any specific skills gap analysis?
That area I would be cautious because we had various teams that went into this whole one. And I must admit on this your platform that I have not really taken the pain to find out. But taking it from the face value, looking at what it is that I am confronted with and other areas or other sectors are confronted with, I think that with regards to what you're asking, did play in.
So we really determined and were able to ascertain these are the critical skills we need for our nation's development in the next 5-10 years or whichever period that we want to do so, and then went out there to look for candidates to fill in these gaps. Is that what we did?
Well, Ray, I wouldn't think that it was just that straight jacket situation for this outcome. Because if you look at what it is that we have come up with, we still have other areas where we are still left with some challenges, you know, and we cannot use just one program to say we're addressing all the challenges in terms of what we are requiring as a nation to be able to get ourselves in the right footing to say we have arrived at where we want to get ourselves, you know, at dealing with whatever challenge we find ourselves. It is an intervention that is coming into addressing youth unemployment and also dealing with challenges that we face as a nation in terms of our developmental agenda and the areas that we're looking at.
Okay, now because I asked that question was because it's important to be able to understand what's the philosophy behind this. Are we just giving out jobs because we know people are unemployed currently, or we're looking at where we need the specific skills to make sure that we develop as a state?
I think I've answered that. We need the specific skills to be able to develop.
That's what I was asking whether we did a what they call the skills gap analysis.
And then that's where I also indicated to you that because I didn't play in that role, I want to be very careful. But looking at it from the
you are a beneficiary of this project. Why did you ask for people to come to NYA? Because you said that your offices that are empty, right?
Yeah, absolutely, I did. And then
your empty offices, how do they play to Ghana's long-term goals and the prosperity we want to give to our people?
Well, certainly with regards to youth development, where I know that we need certain targeted skills, professionals to come in and then see what we can get from them to be able to address the challenges we're facing.
And these targeted skills are specifically what? Psychologists?
Certainly we will be looking for psychologists. We're looking for people with a business background because we are setting business development centers, you know, across all our offices because we are advocating for young people to be innovative and move away from just wanting to put a CV together and then go around looking for a job and trying to set their own, you know, businesses up. And I think that
you are doing the job of the NEIP?
Well, not necessarily.
Not gathered business support scheme?
No. We are not into supporting. And then there's one thing once you're bringing this, there's one thing I want to bring here. Because we are the foremost youth development agency, we are collaborating with all these other agencies.
But mostly relegated to the background.
I must say that if you take the current situation, NY is not relegated to the background again. Since I took over, you probably might have not paid attention. Since I took over, we have assumed our rightful place when it comes to youth development. And I can tell you that there is nowhere in this country, be it the public sector, the private sector, or even amongst our international community,
about the evidence that supports this claim.
When there is anything to do with youth development, we are left out. And it is played out. Hitherto, you had agencies that were running programs and they didn't even know the existence of NYA.
Okay.
But under my leadership, with a strong team behind me, we'll be able to assert our, you know, selves. And now, when you talk of youth development, and I guess that is one of the reasons why you called me into the studio, because we have other people who could have been speaking to this issue, and then probably even better than I am doing. But you looked at who should come in, and based on what you even put in there as the intro when you were bringing, when you were introducing me out there, that it is because I lead or I head this agency. So coming back to the specifics, we are putting, you know, people with various skills in our agency.
So forgive me, I'm rushing this because I want to be clear in my mind. Exactly which type of people did you ask for?
We've asked for, like I said, the people with business backgrounds.
Yes.
We're looking for psychologists, as you said, because we are setting up counseling centers.
Okay.
And currently we are building 10 youth resource centers across the country.
Youth resource centers.
Yes, and if you hear me speak to it, I keep making a case for our counseling centers because it is one area where young people have not been treated fairly, in this country.
Okay.
Young people are confronted with a barrage of issues, and they have nowhere to reach out to for some kind of support in terms of this area.
And that, to be clear, is an immediate need.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that's one, a priority area.
It is a priority area.
If you are finding jobs for people, that's one area that we should put people.
Yeah, because we think that the issues that confront young people, it is because they haven't had people to even give them, to give them guidance as to the challenges they face, and that is why we find ourselves in this. So the request we are making, it cuts across. Yeah. It cuts across. And beyond that,
have you gotten the skills?
I have been in meetings with the Nabco people in the last couple of days, and we are settling on these various areas.
So there's a student of psychology who sometime left school and could not find a job.
Yeah.
And you are convinced that a person could not find a job because nobody wants them, but the NYA can put them to extraordinary good use.
I wouldn't say nobody wants them, because if you take these young people, look, having taken over this position, it really changed my, thoughts about how we look at young people who have not had the opportunity to give out what it is they've acquired in terms of going through some kind of a training.
Oh, they are not competitive enough?
I'm telling you that the young people of this country are full of a lot. They are marvelous people.
They are not competitive enough.
They are.
They are. They are not finding jobs.
Well,
for example, you have over 400 people. Let's say 4,000 left to invest.
You have this limited number of jobs.
Yes.
And if you have a limited number of jobs, and then, for instance,
the most competitive get to fill this job.
Absolutely. And then sometimes it doesn't.
We are talking about not competitive enough.
Sometimes it doesn't mean that those who did not get it are not competitive. Mind you, we are in a society where we must face it. You and I know that sometimes, certain societal linkages lead for people to get, Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that,
and you are completely convinced that when it comes to recruitment into Nabco, whom did not play any role.
Well, look, with these numbers, I don't know how that was going to play in.
Really? Because no districts submitted foot soldiers for recruitment.
And you had a situation where the process with which it was done.
Oh, we know processes. And yet they are silent all the time. There's evidence to suggest that it happens in every single sector.
People were registering through an online portal.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how, if, let's say I was supposed to be doing this, and I know some of the people who were going through the processes of doing the, what's it called? The
recruitment?
No, the selection, and then, going through the information the applicants had put in place, would want to sit there, and on a daily basis, you are dealing with about, let's say, 100 people on an average. And then I want to be very critical about who it is I'm looking at, information he or she would have provided from Denugu in my district, or from Latte in the Ekrapim district, that I'm looking at this person, and then I can say, well, this person has an affiliation with me, and for that matter, I'm bringing he or she on board. I must say that with the process that was put in place, I cannot see how I would want to follow the process at all.
You can't see how anybody could have benefited from that. Did they come for interviews? Were they seen? Did they have one-on-one touch the people that were involved?
Yes, that is after they had been selected, because the process was that you go on the online portal, put in your application.
So you can absolutely sure that nobody sought to provide a list from a constituency office from your hometown,
not that I'm aware
district
of.
That you
not
are
that I'm aware of, because I haven't provided any list, so I'm not aware of anybody doing that.
But you can't discount that, can you?
Well, I think that I can, because I'm saying so.
But you're not aware, but you can discount.
Yes, I'm not aware.
But you cannot be in the position to discount what you don't know,
or
what you didn't see.
What I know is that because the process was taken through this online portal system, I don't know how somebody was supposed to bring in a list, and then we find someone sit in there, and then yours was to now key in all the information that was required. That is why the thing was open to every young person who had a profession, who had a professional background to put he or herself, on the system.
So the people that you are recruiting for your NYA, are they all going to maintain?
Sorry, NYA officer.
Yes,
yeah, you're right.
Are they all going to maintain?
Well, I'm going to push for that.
You're pushing for that?
I'm going to push for that.
It doesn't look like there's any certainty in this.
Well, for me...
Would you maintain the 2,000 that you are pushing into the office?
Certainly so. I mean, if we take them...
Is that assurance to the people who are likely to come to your
Take this assurance for me, Raymond.
Is it going to be
on this 17th day of October 2018?
That all the people who work at NYA will have their jobs after 3 years?
Certainly so. Unless you probably would not be cut out for it or you want to leave. And we must make room for these type of things. People go into some of these areas and they decide that,
except those who want to leave.
Yes, or you are not cut out for a responsibility that we're giving you.
Is cut out for anything.
You see, we're bringing people...
But you've done recruitment based on the person's skills.
Of course.
Then now you say that the person is not cut out for the job.
I mean, Raymond, we have situations where you go for interviews.
Yes.
And someone will come in there, devoid of what the person has on paper, would rattle and you think that this is the right person for this position. And you give the person the responsibility, and to deliver is an issue.
So who's going to do the assessment?
This is happening. We're talking of huge numbers. I'm talking of over 2,000 people.
Yes, who
so
is
I
doing
cannot
the
guarantee. I cannot guarantee. Of course, we have a process in place where even the current staff that we have, there's an appraisal done on every staff.
Okay.
And this has been instituted by me. In fact, it's yet to be. Let me say that it's yet to be done. No, let me not say yet to be. It's yet to be. We're yet to get the outcomes of that this year. Yeah, done. And most of these things have not been done at the National Youth Authority.
So you sack people if they don't
well, not necessarily sack people. We would look at the responsibility you have. If you are given a district director's position, and then we do the appraisal and we see that you don't fit in as a district director, we will look at what it is that you are able to do, and we get you to come on board.
So these people will join the public sector for good?
From the NYA standpoint, yes.
What do you say from the NYA? You don't have clearance to employ, right?
Well, I know what it is I'm talking about.
No, I'm saying that you cannot so much to say that we are going to keep them because you cannot give them clearance for employment.
Raymond, I know I run an agency, and I know I have a difficulty in terms of my staffing situation.
Yeah.
And with this opportunity...
So does the nursing staff in the country. So does doctors do have the same problem. So does lawyers in the Attorney General's department. But you, the head of the institution, cannot independently say, I am going to keep them.
I have dealt with my board, and I'm telling you that we would keep...
Again, I'm saying that the clearance is supposed to come from the Ministry of Finance, right?
We would keep...
If there's no money, how would you keep them?
We would keep our numbers. We will keep our staff.
Have you sought clearance for that?
It's a thing that is in the process.
Do you have financial clearance to get 2,000 more on your staff in the next 3 years when you finish with this particular training?
We have the financial muscle. I won't say financial clearance, but we have the financial muscle to be able to keep this one.
There's a difference between the two.
Absolutely. That's why I'm telling you.
False hopes. That's
no, I'm not giving that. That is why I'm telling you that I am stepping on something. That's why I'm giving this type of an assurance. I mean, why? The program has a duration.
Yeah.
Why would I want to come out and then give people some false hope when I know it's going to happen? With the NYA situation, I'm telling you that at least with this badge that we have, we would keep them. Because I'm not going to get district officers out of this, go and man districts, and then at a point in time, we are like, okay, we can't keep you. We're done with you. And I'm saying that if you're talking about clearance, I've told you the process is in place, but I have the financial muscle. And I want to say I'm referring to the agency has the financial muscle to be able to keep these young people who will be put on the program.
We'll explore that muscle after this break. My guest today is the boss of the National Youth Authority. Today, 100,000, including 2,000 or so going to his office, were given the clearance to take up these jobs. For 700 Ghana cedi, they were supposed to be working the next year to justify their inclusion. But for those of you who are likely to be at the NYA, you may have little to justify because you're already going to get your jobs done. Well, after this break, we'll explore more on this particular matter. You're welcome back. This is Upfront. My name is Raymond Dalkwa. My guest today is the man in charge of National Youth Authority. We're talking about today's 100,000 that have been given the clearance to take up jobs in the various sectors of the economy by the President of the Republic of Ghana under Nabco. This is government's perhaps most important program for the young people in this country when it comes to recruiting them and giving them jobs. We're exploring how sustainable this program is. At least for now, you know that all the over 2,000 who are likely to be put on the National Youth Authority's, what they call the books, are going to be maintained, sustained, and will keep their jobs at the NYA. If you're lucky to be there, well, perhaps you'll be able to be one of these 2,000 and more. Emmanuel Asigri is the CEO of the NYA. He is my guest today. Mr. Asigri, it's interesting to know that in your very case, there is some hope that people can have when they come to work in your institution. Now, you seem to suggest that the factors are really within your control and that it is possible for you to do this. What gives you that confidence?
Well, I told you that at least we have a financial muscle that will be able to enable us, take up this responsibility. And we have a case where I know that once we put it out there, no one would want to say, oh, this is something that we cannot prioritize. Because I started by giving you the demographics. If we have a youthful population, country.
Okay, that point you made.
Yes. And then we don't,
so
the agency,
the
agency that is supposed to be driving youth development, is not operational in the entire country. And we have an opportunity to be able to start this process. I mean, I have no doubt in mind that we would be able to get this done.
Regardless of the fact that your budget is done by the Ministry of Finance, they have the right to cut it, deliver the percentage they want. And in the era where statutory funds are even being somehow reduced, you are still confident that this is going to happen?
Well, I'm very confident that it's going to happen.
Well, now let's move on to the other things that's happening in the sector. I mean, I am not talking about the other, what they call it, programs. I want to stay with what some have said. It's a complete waste of resources. For Imani, for example, they said that 840 million Ghana cedis is likely to be used for this project every single year. They believe that that could be put to extraordinary good use if private sector run, what they call it, employment schemes, not of this kind, not temporal, but ones that can give people sustainable jobs are actually put together. What's your response to that?
Well, I think along the line, I told you about the fact that criticisms, we take them in good faith.
But this criticism says, forget about this program.
Well, Raymond, you see, I don't want to single Imani out. Even our political opponents have come out to damn this whole thing. And even up to the point where, I mean, they went out, some of them we have it on record, of they going out to tell young people who, are supposed to have benefited from this program, asking them not to get themselves on board. And even up to the point where the president has launched this program, we're still hearing them come out to say that this is nothing for anyone to have celebrated. This is nothing for anyone to have seen.
But do you think the fanfare was necessary?
When you talk of fanfare, what you had the program?
The parading of the people, making them march, making them salute, making them, what they call it, wave, making them feel like you need to be very grateful for getting a 700 Ghana cedi paying job.
You are stressing on this 700 Ghana cedis.
It is, isn't it?
I'm coming. It is.
It's
But you are fortunate to work with multimedia. You know it for a fact that you have colleagues who are working in some media houses and they are not earning anywhere close to the 700 Ghana cedis.
Your justification is that some are taking it, so there's nothing wrong with it.
I mean, I'm not saying so, but I'm telling you that
that's just twice of minimum wage. Are you aware?
When we make it look as if, the amount these young people are supposed to be getting is nothing to write home about.
No, the amount you are dealing with is just twice of minimum wage. Are you aware?
But not below the minimum wage.
No, I mean, that would have been unfair. That would have been unjustified, actually.
I mean, so let's keep it at that, because we have people who are holding on to full-time jobs in this country.
But see,
in prestigious,
Raymond,
in prestigious places, so to speak,
in this country.
Prestigious places, so to speak,
it's not
and
for the young person to be underpaid in this case.
Close to this amount. But I think that the question you put to me was not about just the amount. Let me talk about the issues you have raised. Imani, and then how, this is what? I want to be
says
careful.
That this is not fruitful use of state resources. 840 million going down what they consider to be the drain
over the years
to pile up people in public sector where originally the workers are not even functioning where they're supposed to function properly.
Unfortunately, I don't know that because I've just used my case.
You don't know that?
I don't know that. I've used my case to cite an example.
Okay, hold on.
We don't even have the numbers.
You disagree with the senior minister when he says that, one, the system is choked, we need to get people out, the people are not functioning the way they ought to function.
I say I don't know that with regards to my agency. And I've stated...
But your agency is not the entire public service.
But I mean, beyond that.
Yes.
I cited an example earlier on one of the networks. I think it was your radio station, where I indicated that if you take the area that I come from, and I want to always be practical when I'm making these examples. If you take the area that I come from, because the issue of GRA was brought on board when we were having that discussion. And I indicated that you have a GRA office that is in Boku, the Boku municipality, serving about 5 districts. 5 districts, and we're talking about revenue mobilization. So that if we have a program of this nature coming, and now I know that my district Garu would have at least a satellite office of the revenue agency to take care of revenue issues in the district. I mean, why wouldn't I see that as a plus? Beyond Garu, we have Tempani. The district of Tempani has no office or have no establishment that is supposed to be dealing with Ghana Revenue Authority's activities, except for the areas where you have some parts of that district being border towns. But if you take Benduri, where it's not a border town, they have no office except for the office in Boku that is supposed to be serving this district. You take Pusga, same.
So
you
sorry.
You're
Boku saying
West.
that the observation by the senior minister was inaccurate.
I have not said that.
Well, you just gave evidence to just that.
I have
There's
not
so
said
much
that.
space in the public service for
Raymond,
people
I'm
to grab
speaking to specific issues.
Yes, but I asked you a
don't think
specific
that,
question.
no,
Sorry,
I
didn't ask you a question in the vacuum.
Well,
My
no,
question was that the senior minister of this republic is saying that the public sector is choked.
Well,
we need to get people out of that sector rather.
Well, it depends on which
and
area.
the government is piling on people.
Of course. We started with this whole thing, and I talked about
the GRA is part of the public sector, right?
I talked about
your NYA office is equally part of the public sector.
Specific public sector areas where the models are targeted at. You just made a pronouncement that doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
I guess those areas are also public sector. And then you as the host who is putting this before me, talked about the challenge that confronts these areas because the numbers are not up.
You are afraid to say that the senior minister was
I'm not afraid at all. I am rather stating
the
facts. I'm stating facts with regards to what it is I know. So if senior minister...
But the NYA boss will not be having a proper appreciation of the Ghanaian economy and the spaces within the public sector than the man who sits in cabinet, isn't it?
I have no qualms about what it is the senior minister has found out. Because he handles a lot of responsibility. But you disagree. Why would I disagree?
Because the man says the system is choked.
I have told you that I'm speaking about specific areas to do with what I know. And I've cited these examples.
These areas are also in the public sector,
I'm not speaking about a situation that is in a book where I'm quoting and then I'm just putting it out there.
Saying?
I am making specific references to issues that, have evidence to back my submission.
So you are saying that there are spaces in the public sector.
Moving away from...
I want this point clarified.
Moving away from Nabco into what senior minister has said.
You're a government official.
Nabco.
I'm saying that you're a government official. You're a government official.
I am.
The senior minister is also a government official. A government official came to tell us that we need to get people out of the public sector rather, because the system is choked. He didn't give specific departments. He didn't give areas. And I'm thinking that he's minded by the information that department virtually has a panoramic view of what's happening in the country.
Raymond,
you are contradicted and saying that in my sector, it's not the case.
I'm not contradicting him at all. If the senior minister happens to know that a public sector agency like SNIT, for example purposes, a public sector agency like some other agency, the numbers there are bloated. Why would he want to hold on with that information? Why would he want to hold on? And then hold on. And then you have indicated here that when he made the statement, he didn't mention specifics.
Yes.
I am sitting here speaking to specifics, and you find that wrong.
No, I don't find it wrong. I just find it contradictory.
It is never contradictory.
Really?
Because you as a host, you have gone ahead to even mention specific public sector areas. And you mentioned the nurses, you mentioned the health sector.
Yeah.
As we speak, is it something that is not known to every Ghanaian that we have a shortfall of teachers? And we say, because senior minister has said so, if we have a shortfall of teachers, we shouldn't say that the teaching field or that sector has a situation where we need to up the numbers.
And I want value judgment on this matter.
So I'm not saying you're contradicting, I'm speaking to specifics.
Mindful of what you know in the public sector, specifically with the examples you have given and the places that you work, it could not be possible that the system is choked.
Well, it could be possible, because I've also indicated that if we have specific areas...
So it's choked on one side, not on the other side.
If senior minister fell short of indicating that these specific agencies are bloated in terms of their numbers, talking about, let's say, the staff strength of controller is gone beyond what we expect. That is the public's public agency.
So you understand his comment to mean that he didn't mean the entire public service. He meant a section.
Certainly.
Okay, I see.
Certainly. Because I have just cited an example that if we take the teaching field, which is a public sector, I mean, is this something that I, as Sigri, or you, Raymond, should be putting this out to the Ghanaian public to get to know? And I'm saying that you did mention that the health sector, and you talked about nurses and doctors, which is a fact. It's a public sector. So if, I mean, he has information that indicates that some other public sector agencies have bloated numbers. Why? Should he be curtailed not to come and then mention that? He should not.
Do you by chance happen to know these other public sector agencies?
I don't.
You don't?
That is why I'm mentioning areas that I know.
I see.
I'm dealing with the specifics. I don't.
I get your point. Now, one of the questions that I'm interested in asking you on this space is it's still to do with people questioning the sustainability of this. They say that just like NYAP, just like JIDA, they all were promised futures of rollout plan, exit plans, very wonderful ideas, which happen not to have happened at the end of the day. This is because, partially, governments like yours have spent quality time only rolling out stopgap measures and not dealt with the fundamentals of creating an economy that produces jobs.
Raymond, it's quite interesting and far-fetched when you make this type of a scenario.
Which one?
For me, I'm coming. I was fortunate to have been in office, and at the time I was in office as DCE was when we introduced the
NYAP.
National Youth Employment Program.
Yeah.
I must indicate that sectors like the health sector,
Okay.
people who were put on the health model had the opportunity to be retained after the period where they were supposed to be.
All of them?
Board. Not all.
Okay,
But I'm going to give you the specifics again. In fact, that was the first time I also happened to have come to realize that in the health sector, you need areas like the health professional, health assistant,
Physician assistants?
No. They call them health assistant something. I'm mixing the names up. Those ones who are like supporting the nurses, and you go to hospitals and they help in dressing the beds of patients, seeing to the first needs, and they call them health assistant workers.
Okay.
You know, those were the times some of these models were introduced. And hospitals in my area, like the Boko Hospital, the Garu Health Post, where hitherto we didn't have these professionals, they were retained at the end of it. So, you know, yes, you usually have huge numbers, and you don't expect, you know, the situation to be a situation where all can be put on board. And that's why I made specific reference to my area, that these numbers we have gotten, the 2,000 people we have gotten, trust that we would retain the numbers that we expect to get our district officers and any office that will put them running.
Are we still using 600 million to fund the entire project?
600 million?
Yes, 600 million.
In terms of a year?
Yes.
Or for the whole project?
A year. The president mentioned 3 billion.
Yeah, the president mentioned 3 billion.
Where are we getting the money from?
And the 3 billion, I mean, the money that is supposed to be used for this is coming from the consolidated fund. There's no.
What does that mean?
There's no argument
Sorry,
whatsoever.
What you say consolidated fund? What does that mean?
That is money that is coming from the taxpayer, and the president didn't mention it. The president didn't mention it, and then caution. Please allow me to flow.
Yeah.
Caution the beneficiaries that whatever peso you are going to be earning in terms of your stipend, you should know that it is coming from the taxpayers' money, and you must work to earn that amount.
Okay, so is there a specific area that this money is supposed to come from?
From the consolidated fund.
So we take taxes and put it in the consolidated fund.
Yeah, and then
we
all other revenue that is coming. Yeah,
put
absolutely. Yeah.
Are we specifically looking at, let's say, revenue from communication service tax? Because that was the idea from day one.
For this program?
Yes.
No, the communication service tax has been dealing with the NY.
Yes,
yes.
It was said consistently that it would also be part of the funding for this project.
Well, if you take into consideration the part that NYA used to handle in terms of the graduates and their placement on their models, it has all been shifted to
Nabco.
Okay. So if monies which were meant for that part is to be put in there and then augment what is going to be coming from the consolidator, I don't think there is a misplaced priority at all. I don't think that there should be any argument whatsoever in terms of that arrangement.
How sustainably are you going to be able to fund this?
As for the sustainability, I believe that, you know, if you look at the size of the economy we've grown so far as a government since we took over, and then what we are getting in, I believe we would be able to sustain this for the period we have put before ourselves.
The World Bank is projecting that the economy will somewhat shrink in this year, 2018, compared to 2017.
To what level?
Instead of the 8% that it did in 2018, we are likely to see around 6, at most 7%.
Well, so far, the indices that are coming up have not given me that, you know.
Their projections are mostly correct.
Well, we would wait to see how it ends up, because even though this is not tied to, you know, what you are putting out there, if you check when we're told that everything is going on a negative account,
what do you
the
mean?
indices that are showing up are not turning out in that direction.
What do you mean by the indices?
Yesterday, the statistical services put out
they released the second quarter figure.
Absolutely. And then
2017 second quarter was better than 18.
2017 second quarter was better than 2017, yes. But if you look at inflation rates, which is from 8 now, which has now dropped to, 5%. And then we have,
no, that's for PPI or not for CPI.
No, I'm coming.
It's the producer price index, not the consumer price index.
We have the outcomes in terms of what we have put in agric, which hitherto was growing on a negative account, some years back. And
Which year was this?
I guess before we came into office, we all saw what was happening in terms of our agriculture sector.
It didn't go in the negative.
Well, I've not mentioned
2015. It didn't go in the negative.
Whatever
in
the
2014, it never grew in the negative.
Whatever the case is, what the figures are,
4 years before,
what the figures are for this year in terms of growth in agriculture, the indication is that all the prudent measures that we are putting in place.
You can say it's improving. I can see that there's an improvement.
That's what I'm
but
telling you.
There's not negative growth in the field.
Let's leave that.
Yes.
Well, I withdraw that statement, but I'm saying that. I withdraw that statement.
I get your point.
Yeah, and I'm speaking to what we have done. That no matter the case, since we came into office, we have brought improvement into every sector. And we think that these improvements give us the impetus, give us the feeling, give us the right to think that putting young people through this, it will be sustainable for the period and even beyond that.
I'm interested in the way this is likely to go. So it's purely banked on economic growth possibilities, right?
Yes.
And that's interesting because it does sound to me like it's unclear how we're likely to fund this in the future. Will we continue with Nabco after 3 years?
I am very optimistic that we probably might even move it to a different level. Because if we look at the level at which we are improving the situation in terms of our economy, we should be able to. So if
economy turns the other way around, if our commodities don't bring us as much as returns that
I'm happy you are saying if.
Yes, if.
Let's wait till we get there.
No, but I mean, I want to know how sustainable this is, and those are the questions that
we have experts who are also looking at all these ifs as well.
I see the projections equally, and the projections don't look to me like they're going to get better.
And I'm saying that let's wait till we get there, because we're talking of an if here. We're not talking
next year. Are you going to recruit more into Nabco? 100,000 more.
I want to believe. I mean, we've started with 100,000. I don't know the numbers that will turn out for next year.
So you recruit?
Sure.
Okay. So you, as in NY, will get more people next year?
Well, if we have up to the numbers we have taken, I don't think that we would want to push ourselves and then.
So when all the sectors say a similar story, we will not recruit, right?
I don't think that in the near future we would have a situation where the sectors will say so, because you have mentioned some areas, and I believe that we need to look at that
and fill in those gaps too.
Yes.
Is this a propaganda political tool?
It is never.
The NPP song was played at the event. I was there.
Yes.
What was the big deal? This is a national event, isn't it?
Raymond, we had a DJ who was supposed to.
Oh, so it's the DJ's fault?
Hold on, I have not said so.
Yeah.
We have a DJ who was supposed to be taking care of all these things, and he slots in a song that is associated with us. Is there anything wrong with that?
I heard the MC say that he should repeat that particular song.
I don't
you
know
heard
whether,
it, right?
I don't know whether this has a bearing on we putting 100,000 young people.
Because you color it, because you make it look like partisan. It's MPP's own. So that when the NDC comes, they have to set aside and do something different.
This fact. I'm an MPP person, and it's
yes,
the MPP
I agree with you.
Government.
But you're also a member of the Ghana state. It's the collective resource of the state that's used in paying you.
I don't think that the songs that we played had any denigratory information to give to anybody in this country.
But you don't think it colors it?
In what sense?
That it makes it look partisan rather than a national event.
100,000 people, and when we're going to be campaigning as a party, we would want to project this as a positive. Then you should tell me that when we are campaigning as a party, we shouldn't bring it up because we did this. We did this because
this is the reason why you put out the program, right? The 100,000 is just because you need a campaign message, isn't it? Isn't it?
How can that be?
Because you just said that. How can that we will campaign with it?
I never said that. I never said that.
Oh, you never said we campaign with it?
Of course I said that, but it is not going to be the only thing that we're going to say. All the positive things that we've done, I just sat here and I talked about touting our positive or our attributes in terms of the economy. All these things are going to play.
I see.
We will put these things out. And we've not shied away from this. I mean, we've had, since we came into office, we've had various party gatherings. And anytime we have party gatherings and we have the president giving an account of his stewardship, he mentions these things.
I'm told that my time is up.
We are in government because we came.
Do you have a family member on Nabco?
Not that I can recall for now.
Oh, you have a big family then?
I do.
Wonderful. Mr. Sigri, I very much appreciate you coming here today. We appreciate your time. And, well, our time is up. We should do more conversation on the NY itself in the near future.
I would love to. Because,
and I appreciate your coming.
You know, I've been watching your programs, and I had the opportunity when you called me and said you wanted me to, I said, I'll come for this great man's program. Because anytime I watch your program, the way you go about it, it makes me feel so, you know, passionate to be here and then engage you in this whole thing. And then you didn't disappoint me at all. You took me through that. I like to go through this.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Upfront.